Hi, my name is Jen Adams, and I'm from Teach Love Autism. I'm super excited to be here today at the Educators to Educators Conference presenting about financial literacy with my session called Classroom Hacks and Tips for Keeping Your Paycheck in Your Pocket. So let's get started. First, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jen Adams. I am currently a special education teacher. I have a master's in special education. I also have my bachelor's degree in elementary and early childhood education. I most recently this summer received my certification to be a registered behavior technician, which is basically fancy words for an assistant to a behavior analyst. I also am currently in school to obtain my principal's certification and hope to be finishing that here shortly. And my day-to-day full-time job is an autistic support teacher for a public cyber school. I also am a Teachers Pay Teachers author, a blogger, and I'm happy to report that based on our theme of financial literacy for this conference, I currently have no student loans. I have a house but no mortgage, and I love being debt-free. So I thought we would start off here with just a little quote that I feel like we may have all said in our lives. I never spend my own money buying school supplies for my students or my classroom. Said no teacher ever. I'm pretty sure every single person that is watching this, if you are a teacher, you have somewhat spent some of your money in the classroom. And if you've been able to not do that, you're my hero. So I thought we would start off this presentation with some statistics and numbers because, in my opinion, the numbers don't lie. So let's take a look. The average teacher salary across our country is $60,000. Now, we all know there are salaries that are higher than that. There are salaries lower than that, but our average is about $60,000 a year. The money spent by teachers in the last school year, the entire country, was $1.44 billion, and that's what was reported. So what wasn't reported is even scarier. I got a few more stats to throw at you here. Teachers who say they have used their own money to buy supplies in their classroom is about a 94% rate. Teachers who feel their classroom budgets are inadequate to provide what they need to teach is at 91%. And teachers who take advantage of stores that offer discounts for teachers isn't even close at 69%. So the question is, does it matter? Because there's been many conversations and articles and research done on the type of classroom or the economic status of the area of the school and how much teachers are spending. And I'll be honest, by looking at this graph that I found when I was researching, it doesn't really matter. You can see here there is low poverty schools, high poverty schools, and then they kind of average out all the schools. And there isn't that big of a difference of how much teachers are spending. And they're still spending a good amount of their own money, regardless of what type of school or what type of community they work in. So, how much are teachers spending in a year? So this is just some data that I got from 2015, 2016, and it looks like about 25% of us are spending $1 to $250 a year. 37% are spending $251 to $450 a year. 21% are spending somewhere between $451 and $650, and 17% are spending $650 or more. Raise your hand if you're in the pink, because that's where I have been year after year after year. So, one more infographic to throw at you. How much do teachers spend on school supplies by state? So you can look here and see what state you currently are teaching in and see what the going rate is for how much it costs for teachers to spend on their school supplies on average. You can see it varies from state to state. It is not the same everywhere. There are some that are more expensive and less expensive, or the amounts or dollar amounts that teachers are paying are more or less. Now, in my opinion, how much should teachers spend on classroom supplies each year? I think we should all be paying a big old goose egg. All right, so let's get into some of the meat and potatoes of the presentation, and now that I've laid out some of the numbers for you. I want to give you ideas that are cheap, free, or inexpensive, ways that you can fill your classroom with the things that you need without spending your entire paycheck. So let's dive in. Here are just a few different ideas that I have come up with. I have used myself. I have polled and asked other teachers what they do, and I wanted to share them with you, hoping to give you some new ideas. The first is checking with your school district, colleagues, family, and friends. Go to the people that you know, and maybe they have something that they don't want anymore that you can use. I've seen teachers who get futons, tables, chairs, library books for their classroom, you name it, tons of things from colleagues, family, and friends. And my other point to this one is check with your school district before you're going and spending all this money. Some schools offer a stipend for teachers. Some schools do have a budget that they may not tell everybody and shout it across the hallways, but they have a budget that you could potentially use to buy things for your classroom. The next one is secondhand stores, yard sales, and garage sales. Do not give up the opportunity to check out a yard sale or garage sale, and if that garage sale says it's got a retired teacher in there, you definitely want to go, because I'm sure there's going to be some things that that teacher has bought for their classroom that they are then reselling in that sale. I've also done a lot of damage in secondhand stores such as Goodwill, Salvation Army, even secondhand just resales that are more meant maybe for kids and families, but I have found some great things like puzzles and books at those that I have been able to use in my classroom. The next is check out your community Facebook groups and Craigslist. Find groups in your community or groups that are specifically just for teachers. I have gone on there and find tons of deals and bargains that I can use. And just like I said, there's ones that are local to your community, and then there's also just some major teacher ones that you can find. Also, don't forget to look for free websites and resource libraries or products that are available across many different platforms. I know of some sites considering like Teachers Pay Teachers, where you can go and just click a box for free and find all the free materials. I also know that there are teacher bloggers like myself that have free resource libraries on our websites that you can just click and download a resource and boom, you have it for your classroom. And we'll get into that more here later in the presentation. The last thing I want you to look for is closing stores or donations. I have actually hit gold mines when there has been a store that's been going out of business, looking to get rid of all of their furniture or other items in their store at a deep discounted rate. I got these awesome shelving units that were actually used in the shoe department of a JCPenney. And when they went out of business, they put them on sale for a crazy discount, and I was able to get some awesome storage for my classroom. Now, I wanted to get into some of the stores that you could shop at if you don't know already places to find some good deals. Now, granted, you can find good deals and you can find not so good deals. You do somewhat need to know your pricing before you're just going in and buying all the things. But these are some places where I have really done well if I knew what I was looking for and I knew my price points. So first off, I have Target. Target obviously can get pricey depending on what you're doing, but that Target dollar spot, that little section in the front of the store that has a lot of little knickknacks and things, especially at back to school time, sometimes has some really great finds for a cheap price. I've seen little whiteboards in there. I've seen dry erase markers. I've seen math workbooks, tons of things, some decor items as well that have worked really well. Walmart is known for also its low prices and is also a great place to find things. I get a lot of storage items, pillows, bean bags, things like that for my classroom at Walmart. Dollar Tree, I don't know if I really need to say anything else. It's all $1. So you can get tons of things there. You just kind of have to open up your mind a little bit, think outside the box, and kind of look at what's there and think of how it could be used in your classroom multi-purposed. I have found things such as caddies for holding pencils and pens and markers and crayons, and I've found things such as cleaning supplies that I needed for my classroom, such as Clorox wipes and maybe even some towels. Five Below, again, is similar to Dollar Tree. Everything's $5 or below. I've gotten some great seating for flexible seating options there, and also found some great tools like exercise balls, which are another great flexible seating option. The ones on the bottom can get a little more pricey if you're not careful. IKEA has some great furniture if you're willing to put just a little bit extra money into what you're trying to spend. but I've gotten some great TroFast bins, which are these shelving units that have these tubs, and I've used them for storing classroom supplies. I've used them for storing students' work, and it's worked out nicely. Craft stores can be great if you know when to look for sales and where to find the coupon codes. So always be keeping an eye out for those, especially around the back to school season. Office supply stores such as Staples and Office Depot can really, really have some great deals. Back to school time is obviously a really good time, but do not be afraid to go back into the back of the store and find that clearance section. I have found divider tabs, Sharpie markers, you name it, for super cheap printer paper that has saved me tons of money because I was willing to go look in the clearance section. And then, of course, we've already talked about the secondhand stores such as Goodwill. Sometimes you can find things that are almost brand new. You just have to do a little bit of digging, and sometimes taking that little bit of time can get you something big. All right, so now I thought I would share, obviously there are tons of websites, and all the stores I basically named in the previous slide have their own websites as well that you can go to, but I wanted to name some websites that maybe you weren't familiar with that I have used to save myself money. Oriental Trading is typically known for its party supplies and games and things like that. But did you know that they actually also sell educational resources? I have gotten things like pocket charts from there, reading center materials, flashcards, things like that. So don't hesitate to check out Oriental Trading. The other part that Oriental Trading has is they have a section that's not just clearance, but it's called Less Than Perfect. And it is items that maybe are missing something. They're not broken, but they're missing something, so they're a deep discounted rate. They weren't quite made right, but they're still usable. So I've gotten things like dry erase boards that the marker was broken, but the board was just fine, and I got it at a deep discounted rate. Laminator.com is one of my favorite places to go to get lamination. You can get laminators, you can get laminating pouches, and I know something teachers like to do to be able to save the things that they have in their classroom, like posters and other materials you're going to use again and again, like name tags, you want to laminate it. So Laminator.com has this deal where if you buy 2 packs of 100 pouches, you can get 1 free. And you can do it over and over and over again. So if you buy 6 packs, you get 3 free on top of that. So you get 9 total packs of lamination, 100 sheets each, for a really good price. It's the best price that I've been able to find, pricing out all of the places that I have ever come across that sell lamination. The other place that I really like to go to is Feener Supply. It is a website that you can get Velcro from. Now, being a special education teacher, I have a soft spot in my heart for using lamination and Velcro for literally everything. I know not every teacher has a need for Velcro, but if you're going to do it, buy bulk. Maybe go in with a colleague on it, and if you both need it, you can pay half the price and use half the materials, but getting 1,400 coins of Velcro on 1 roll, and it's about $16, is a really sweet deal. Another one that I'm pretty sure a lot of teachers are familiar with is HP Instant Ink, which is a ink program for your printer that you can sign up for. It connects to your Wi-Fi as long as you have a compatible printer through HP, and then you can buy a subscription so many months to get so many pages per month. And they have different rates for different numbers of pages. And I believe the lowest you can pay is like $2.99 a month, and you might get like 100 pages. And you can go up really high to like $15.99 and get 750 pages. So, and you can fluctuate throughout the year, which is another great thing too. So like I know for me, back to school time is a time where I need a lot of pages, so I will up my monthly rate then, but once we get a little farther into the school year, I lower it back down to save myself money. And another great way to get funding for your classroom where you're not spending anything at all is using some of these great grant programs like Donors Choose, GoFundMe, and Amazon wish lists. It's pretty self-explanatory. You go on their site, you kind of put in an application and create your list of items that you're hoping to get, and then others, whether it's from across the country or it's in your local community, can donate to these lists, and then you can get the materials. All right, I want to know, are you ready? Because I told you some places you can go, but I also promised you hacks and tips with this presentation, hence the title, and that's where we're headed next. So I thought these two little videos here were perfect because a lot of times teachers feel like the top one, right? Like, just take my money. Come on, just do it. But then we're also like that bottom one where it's like, give me all the supplies, I want them all. So I hope you're ready. Let's dive into some of my tips and hacks. All right, so first we're going to start with hacks that can save you money. So these are all different things that I have scoured upon, researched, used some of them myself, found out from other teacher friends. What are some ways to save money in your classroom? So I have them numbered here so that we can easily keep track of what we're talking about. Number one is privacy screens. How many of you are giving a test in your classroom? You don't want other students to be distracted. You don't want them looking off each other's answers, but you don't want to pay the price tag to go and buy them. Well, this teacher in number one decided, I'm just going to take cardboard boxes from my house. You probably have Amazon boxes laying around from orders, or you name the store, you've got the boxes. Just open them up and make them work as privacy screens for you. It's kind of free, except for whatever you bought in the boxes. Number two, take old t-shirts and instead of throwing them away, fill them and create classroom pillows for yourself. So if you're looking for flexible seating options but don't want to be buying all the pillows, take a t-shirt, go to your local craft store, get the filling you want, sew the bottom shut, and you've got a pillow for your classroom with new flexible seating. Number three, this kind of looks like your standard different color beads, right? Well, it's not beads. It's pasta. That's right. Go to your grocery store, get pasta, buy food coloring, or you can buy certain types of paint at craft stores that will dye things, and you can dye your pasta different colors. For beading activities where you need beads and patterning, things such as that, maybe counters, and you're set. Just pasta. Number four is one that I feel like maybe you've probably seen several hundred times on Pinterest, but it is such a good idea. I don't know what teacher thought of this idea, but they were a genius. Taking a milk crate or a filing crate and putting a cushion on top of it to make seating options for your classroom. It is cheap, it is simple, it is easy, and if you use the crate right, you can even use it as extra storage. Number five, this is a picture of someone who took Crystal Light containers, those plastic containers with the lids on them, and turned them on their sides, covered them in some pretty paper, taped them together, hung them on their wall, and then used it for storage for their markers. I think that's pretty ingenious. Number six is another one that you've probably seen many times, taking a hot glue gun and gluing a pom-pom on the end of your expo marker instead of going and buying a class set of dry erase markers. And what's better about it is that it's actually connected to the marker, so you don't have to worry about your students losing them. I've got 6 more hacks here coming at you. Some of them are a little unorthodox if I'm being honest with you, but they work, so why not, right? Number one is those water coolers that you can buy, the ones that are like Poland Springs, Deer Park. You buy them at the grocery store. They have the little pull-out knob on the end. And this person decided, why wouldn't I just save them if it's something that I use a lot and I can get a lot of them? They cut a hole in them and then they're using it for cubbies and storage. I could see this being used for like a leveled classroom library. You could use it for student cubbies to keep supplies in, maybe to keep technology devices in by student. You could put numbers on them. You could paint them. You could do tons of things with such a simple thing that you may already have access to yourself. Number 2 is taking those icing containers when you make a cake and you ice it and using it for your bulletin border storage. So roll it all up, stick it inside, and then as you can see, this teacher decided to also make it so you could see through it, and if she couldn't see through it, she took a small piece of that border and put it on the outside so that she knew what it was. Number 3, take the cans from the canned goods that you are eating in your household and clean them out, take the wrappers off, and hot glue it to a piece of wood. This looks like potentially a Lazy Susan, which makes it even cooler because it spins, which means students can access it from any angle and use it as a supply caddy. Number 4, this one I had never thought of. And when I found it, I kind of had a moment where I went, oh my gosh, why did I not think of this? But if you have beanbags in your classroom, you know, years after years after years, it can be expensive to go and buy those beans to refill those beanbags. Well, just get some plastic bags from your grocery store that you probably already get anyways, and use that as your filling for your beanbags every year. Number 5 is taking those paint sticks that you can get at your Home Depots and places like that to create a way to label your library. This teacher here put stickers with letters on them that I'm assuming they either are alphabetizing by last name, but I can even see where you could put stickers on here based on the theme of the kind of book. So, you know, Clifford books and Arthur books, maybe Berenstain Bears, any kind of picture you want to be able to sort the books in your library. The number 6 one is taking wooden blocks that you would get at your craft supply store, taking your Sharpie, and then creating dice out of them. But the cool part about it is that you can put anything you want on the dice. You can make traditional dice, or you can do like what this teacher did here, and they made fractions. You could put letters on it. You could put numbers on it. The cool thing about it is it's customizable to whatever you need to use it for. All right, and this last one I have is a super hack, and I have to give credit here to Lessons with Coffee on Instagram for this one. She had this hack and I just had to share it. She took a old bulletin board border that she didn't want to use anymore, decided to take some colored pencils, flip it over, color on the back side of it, and then take a paintbrush with water and run it along it to then make it look like a watercolor border. And it looks brand new. And it's a way to freshen up your bulletin boards without having to go spend tons of money on new border. All right, now we're getting into a totally different section of this presentation, but also equally as cool. It is called the splurge versus save. So what I did is I found some key items that I know a lot of teachers like to have in their classrooms, and I found a way for you to save money and recreate that item to still fit that same purpose. All right, so the first one I have there with the pink arrow is the traditional set of student mailboxes. We all know having that nice set of mailboxes for papers that need to go home or papers that need to be returned back, that's a great way to do it. But those mailboxes can be expensive. When I was an elementary teacher, that was something I really wanted, but I knew I didn't have the money at the time, my first few years of teaching, to shell out to get them. So what did I do? Well, look below. Did you know that the United States Postal Service can give you cardboard boxes for free? You can just go to their website, order the boxes, you can pick the size, you can pick the shape, you can pick how many you want. They will ship them to you and they are absolutely free. Then what I did is I took the boxes as you see in this picture and you tape them all together, you assemble them and tape them together, and then you can see I have a set of student mailboxes. Now, I could cover this in wrapping paper, you could paint it, you could do whatever you want to make it look a little bit nicer than just those mailboxes, but I've also even used these as ways to store construction paper, my Astrobites paper, and if it's in a shelf, then I don't feel like I have to cover it. But if you want to use it for mailboxes that are out in the open in your classroom, I would probably cover it with some wrapping paper. But who can beat that price? It's free. All right, this next one is caddies. We all know and love using caddies in our classroom. Whether it's for individual students or a group of students, it is always helpful to have caddies. And they can also get pricey. I mean, let's be honest, we're talking about splurges here. It can be a splurge to buy them. So my hack for you to save money is to take a 6-pack, cardboard 6-pack from drinks that you may buy at the store, cover it, paint it, make it look nice, and use that as your caddies in your classroom. They may not be quite as sturdy as what the caddies that you could buy are, but in a pinch, when you need it and you don't want to be using your paycheck to buy it, you can use a 6-pack container. The next one I have is an old hack that I feel like has been around for a little while. Instead of your traditional book bins that can be pricey, especially when you need a whole class set, take a cereal box, or go back to my first option that I showed you and get one of those mailboxes and do this same thing. Cut it so you can see the books inside. It's essentially the same shape. You can cover them if you want. You could have the students decorate them if you want. That would be a great back to school activity in the beginning of the year. Everybody gets to decorate their own book bin. And you've got it made for free. It just costs you the cereal. And if you're buying cereal for your house, why not repurpose the box? The next one is one that I have used in my classroom in several different ways, and this is just one example. So we would all love these beautiful wooden rolling carts to have all of our classroom supplies on, especially when it comes to things like art supplies, construction paper, crayons, the things our students may need access to on a daily basis. But those cabinets get really expensive, and I'll be honest, there's been times where I've worked at schools and it's just not in the budget. So something I have done is I've taken a door in my classroom, and you can see on that picture on the bottom there, that's actually a shoe organizer that would hang over the top of a door. And it has all these plastic pockets in it, and you can see there's chalk in there, there's paint, there's pom-poms, there's sponges. You could essentially fill it with whatever materials you need. I've used these in multiple ways. When I was a special education teacher, I would put fidgets and stress balls and different toys and things that my students would use for their break time in the classroom, and fill the shoe container with all of those things and sit it in our break time or sensory area. Another thing I have done is taken these and put them inside a supply cabinet that I used as a teacher, and put some of the smaller items that were always getting lost in there, because it's clear and you can see exactly everything that's in there. So those shoe organizers can come in handy in a lot of ways. I've even seen teachers use them, in especially math teachers, for individualized calculators for students, and they write a number on there so every student knows which calculator is theirs. And I've even seen some high school teachers that have used them in their classroom, stick them right by their door as students walk in, and instead of allowing students to bring their cell phone into the classroom, they have to put it into the shoe organizer so that they're not messing with it in class. All right, a few more splurges and saves here for you. So instead of getting, yet again, another bookshelf, something I love using is milk crates. We already talked about them for seating purposes, but if you zip tie milk crates together, you can create shelving units or cubbies that you can use for a classroom library, for storage, you name it. I can never find a reason to not use a milk crate in my classroom. The next one with the yellow arrows there are those iris boxes that teachers love to use for task cards and flashcards, and they're gorgeous. I mean, who doesn't love rainbow? But they're expensive, and unless you have a good coupon or a good deal going on at Michael's to get them, they can get pricey. So my hack for that is to take a soap dish, a travel soap dish that you would use when you go to a vacation, and stick your flashcards in there. Now, it may not fit in that fancy container like that iris box you see above, but it can be kept in a student's desk, and they can still access the same materials that they would need to if they were in those iris containers. And if you don't have the money at the moment, maybe you use these until you have the money to get the iris boxes later. The next one is taking something that we already talked about. This is a puzzle storage shelf, and it's wooden and it's gorgeous, and it houses all the puzzles for your classroom. Maybe even indoor recess games I can think of would work well with this too. Taking those postal service boxes that I talked about earlier that are absolutely free and making them into shelving units to store your puzzles. The last one on here, I need to give credit to one of my friends. Her name is Sophie, and she is on Instagram. Her handle is Where I Ought to Be, and she had this fabulous idea. Now, this is specifically a special education teacher hack. However, I could see teachers using this whether or not they are a special education teacher. So a lot of times teachers have visuals in their classrooms. They have schedules up on a board. I've even seen elementary teachers, including myself, have some kind of center rotation schedule, and they have these little picture cards like you see in the picture on the bottom there that they need to store and keep sorted. So Sophie's cool idea was to take a jewelry organizer that looks a lot like the shoe organizer I talked about in the previous slide, but instead the pouches are much smaller and they can fit a small card that's about 1 inch by inch for those schedule pieces inside. And it's a great way to keep those materials organized and have it up and away from students so they aren't getting into it, but the adults can access it. All right, a few more splurges and saves coming at ya. So instead of buying that big old whiteboard, find an old picture frame you're not using anymore and take a dry erase marker and it'll work for you as a whiteboard. You can even hang it on a wall if you want to, or stick it in a strategic spot where it can work. The next one is a magnetic board. So sometimes we want to be able to have something that we can use magnets on, but we don't have enough wall space in our classroom, and we don't want to buy the one like the one next to that with the pink arrow that maybe has the magnet ability, but it's going to take up more space and cost you more money. I'm sure many of us, I know I have had one every single year in my career, a metal filing cabinet. Repurpose one of the sides of that metal filing cabinet. You can paint it, you can cover it with contact paper, whatever it is you want to do, but turn it into either a bulletin board or an activity area for your students to be able to use magnets or write on, and who needs to buy a board then? All right, the next one here I have with this green arrow are those individualized whiteboards that almost every single teacher loves to have for their students. It's great for getting students to write their answers down, gives you feedback quickly. The problem is they get pricey. So my hack for you is, instead of buying individualized whiteboards for your students, get plastic plates. They must be plastic, not paper. Plastic from the grocery store. And guess what? When you use a dry erase marker on them, it can erase. So for pennies, you can get a quick dry erase board without actually buying the boards when you don't have the money. And the last one on this page where the blue arrow is your dry erase erasers, which can also be pricey. So you're buying a set of whiteboards and you're buying a set of erasers, and it's just, it all adds up, let's be honest. So a quick hack that I have found is either the picture you see below, which is showing you to buy felt at your local craft store, because a sheet of felt is 23 cents, and you can cut it into small pieces and give it out to all your students. The other option I've done is taken old socks or old rags and towels that I'm not using anymore, whether it's my kids' socks they've outgrown that are probably not in that bad of shape, they just don't fit anymore, and I take those into school and my students use those as erasers too. All right, this is the last page of splurge versus saves for you. The first one here is something I never really thought about until a few years ago. There has been this big kick with this paper that is colored like you see on the bottom here. One of the brands that I particularly like to use is Astro Brights. And Astro Brights is different colored paper. You can get it in paper, you can get it in cardstock, that you can use for printing materials on. So instead of doing what you can see at the top there, is someone took this resource and they printed it in color, which it is gorgeous in color. And granted, color posters you want to print in color, but there are going to be times like in that picture below that you're going to see that you don't have to have it in color, but you could use colored paper as your background. So save your ink, buy colored paper, and print your things on that. It can still give you a sense of something colorful in your classroom without spending all the money on the ink. The next one is one of my personal favorites. I love the dry erase pouches. The way to be able to use them and save yourself on paper, so we're helping the planet, and also save yourself on making tons of copies of things is great. And they're typically not too expensive, but if you're the kind of person like me who likes to have a class set of everything, it can add up quick. So my hack for you is to actually take 2 lamination pouches, put nothing in them, and laminate and run them through your machine. When they come out, they are going to be clear. You're going to be able to see right through them. And then once you've done that, you can see where this bright green duct tape is at the bottom of the screen has gone around those pieces of lamination. So what has happened is essentially I've duct taped around except for the top, and you can slide a piece of paper inside of it and you've made yourself a dry erase pouch. Pretty cool, right? All right, this next one is just something that I think is just a great idea. So a lot of teachers want to have these beautiful posters in their classrooms, but they can cost money. They can be really expensive, and yes, they look beautiful, but sometimes it's best to save money and just make it yourself. So my suggestion for this one is, instead of getting pretty posters, make it yourself and turn it into an anchor chart. You can use it year after year. even have the kids help create it. When they get a sense of ownership, they are so proud of themselves. So it really is a way to help also build community and also not break your bank. The last one I have here is one that I love because I feel like it fits so well in the times we are in. We are in a time where digital is becoming the norm in the classroom. And whether you are teaching in the classroom or you're virtual like myself, you are looking for ways to take the things that you love to use in the classroom but still give access in a virtual setting. So this example is from a teacher who had all these beautiful posters on their wall for all these different types of math concepts. Well, when they weren't in the classroom anymore, the posters didn't work for them so well. So what this teacher did is they made a virtual classroom, put links onto the posters, and you can see all the little frames on there. And each of those is the set of posters that's above. The students can click on it, and then it blows up on their screen to that life-size poster for them to access and get the information off of. I thought this was a great idea. It saves you paper, it saves you ink, and it saves your walls at the same time. So even if you are still in the classroom, a lot of classrooms are giving students one-to-one devices for them to use even if they're still in school. And I don't see any reason why, instead of using up all your wall space, making it look cluttered with posters, and not that that wall looks cluttered, it looks gorgeous. I just think that if you could take it and put it on their Chromebook and they can access it anywhere, why wouldn't you? And it's a great way to save. All right, so now I have some killer information for you. So I have a website that I didn't share in the previous slides when we were talking about them because this one is just amazing and I wanted it to be one of the last things we talked about so that I could make sure you did not forget it. So this website is one you must know. It is called Nair, N-A-E-I-R. Basically what it is it's a website and it's a company where they get donations from other companies that create all kinds of products. Sharpie, 3M, Laminator, Scotch, you know, all of those brands, Crayola, Rubbermaid. They get good stuff and none of it is ever opened or broken. It's brand new, high quality, and it's things that you can use in your classroom. It is meant for schools, nonprofit organizations, and you can apply to be on this site, sign up for it, and then you can buy things from it. Okay, and there also is, you can see at the bottom of this slide here, there is a Facebook group for the teachers program that they have. And what they'll do on there is they will announce sales they are having. They will also give you ideas for the ways some people have used products that they have currently for sale. They will also let you know what is brand new and up and coming and going to be available soon in the store. They sometimes also do giveaways on there and they're pretty good too. So, Nair to the rescue. I'm telling you, you need to write this down. Nair to the rescue. These are pictures that I pulled from that Facebook group of teachers' hauls that they have gotten. Now, you are probably looking at these hauls going, they must have spent thousands of dollars. No. So if you look in the bottom corner here, you can see some examples of the pricing that they have. So an example here is these self-stick note cubes, essentially Post-it notes. And they just make you pay the handling fee, right? The handling fee. You don't pay for the actual item because it's a donated item. You pay the handling fee it costs for them to ship it out to you and get it to you. So for 8 cubes with 360 pages each, so a stack of Post-its that are 360 pages and you get 8 of them, the cost in the store would be about 40 bucks and you're paying $6.75, which means you're saving 83% for Post-it notes. Another example I have there is Papermate ballpoint black ink pens. I know there are teachers out there who love the Papermate ballpoint pens. I am one of those, but I hate spending the money on them. For this, you can get 24 of these pens that are normally $23. They are giving them to you for 2. 91% savings. I am telling you, if you are not a part of this Nair website, you need to get there now. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how do I get there? Hang on. I have some different things for you that can help. So here are some things that I'm providing you through this presentation to help you save money. The first is the blue section here, my store. I have a web store on teachloveautism.com. It's actually shop.teachloveautism.com. And I am giving you an exclusive coupon to save 25% off any product in my store on my shop. I have over 400 products there, and I also have free resources, and this coupon code is exclusive to E2E attendees. So when you get a chance after this presentation is done, go to the links at the bottom and you will see your coupon there. The other thing I'm going to tell you about is that I had said this earlier, am one of the people that has a free resource library on my website. That means that if you go to my website and you sign up for my newsletter, you can get access to a free resource library that has at least 30 or more resources that you could print and go today. There are tons of people that have these types of resources and libraries for you. You just have to look. The other thing I have, and this is going to help you with that Nair website I was talking about, is my blog post. I wrote a blog post on my website, teachloveautism.com, about how to sign up for Nair, what you can get from it, and to give you just a little bit more information on how it all works. So if you are dying to know how it works and how to sign up, you need to head to my blog post. It's also in the links below this presentation to find out more. Lastly, I am giving you an exclusive presentation freebie. Basically, it's a PDF with all the links and all the ideas that I mentioned in this presentation. So all those splurges and savings that I showed you, I screenshotted it and threw it in this PDF so you can be reminded of how to use them. All the stores and the websites I named, I linked them and put them in for you, all as an exclusive presentation freebie to help you with getting all those things and not having to pay for them. Now, I'm hoping that what I was able to give you today is going to keep your paycheck in your pocket. That is honestly my entire goal of this presentation, and hopefully you got something you could take back and use and make it work. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I want to say thank you for coming. If you want to, you can see there's many different ways you can connect and contact me. I have my website. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on Instagram. I'm also Teachers Pay Teachers at Teach Love Autism, and I have a Facebook page called Teach Love Autism and a Facebook group called the Teach Love Autism Community, and I would love to see you there. I want to say thank you to all of you for attending today, and it was awesome. Here's to keeping your paycheck in your pocket.